Now, we're still tracking the protest against immigration raids in the United States of Los Angeles, where police say they're conducting mass arrests. This comes after the declaration of curfew in some part of downtown Los Angeles by the city's mayor, Karen Bass. Ms. Bass imposed the curfew in response to looting and violence in the lingering protest. We have more in this report.
In this struggle. Because there's one thing I want to say to you is that
demonstrations against immigration raids in Los Angeles have spread to other cities in the U.S., with multiple arrests made in New York. At least 9 other U.S. cities, including New York, Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Philadelphia, and San Francisco, are witnessing the same situation. To ensure proper control of the planned protests, the governor of Texas has deployed the National Guard. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has accused President Donald Trump of inflaming the protest by deploying the National Guard. It says sending trained war fighters into the street is unprecedented and threatens the very core of U.S. democracy.
A U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested. A 4-year-old girl taken, families separated, friends quite literally disappearing. In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their governments.
We won the war.
But President Trump has described the protest as a full-blown assault on peace and public order.
Of those I mentioned for today, 130 were arrested near Commercial and Alameda. An additional 67 were taken into custody after unlawfully occupying the 101 freeway near Commercial Street. Our CHP partners were instrumental in that. So again, let me be clear that this behavior, blocking freeways, city streets, and on-ramps, refusing to comply with lawful dispersal orders, and interfering with public safety operations is dangerous, unlawful, and won't be tolerated.
There is a massive law enforcement presence in Los Angeles, and dozens of people are being arrested by defying the curfew. But there is no sign of U.S. Marines or National Guard troops out on the streets. Officers on mounted horses have been riding through the streets, pushing back on protesters. The Los Angeles Police Department says with the curfew in effect, mass arrests are being initiated.
And global affairs analyst Kunle Falowo joins me from the state of Indianapolis in the United States. Kunle, good to have you join us. We've seen the governor of California accusing Donald Trump of sowing chaos to advance his own cause. But how do you interpret the deployment of the military by the U.S. president against the wishes of the state of California? And would you say this is unprecedented?
Well, definitely, this is a very troubling time, especially in Los Angeles and in the people of Los Angeles generally. I would say that depending on the spectrum, or depending on how you want to look at it, both sides definitely do have a good point. Let me start by saying that in as much as it's okay to protest and speak about what you don't like about policies and rule of law and whatever. But the problem is when looting and vandalism is involved, that means that a lot of people's lives and livelihood will be at stake. People will get hurt, and businesses will be destroyed and looted, and that's not democratic. That is not something that anyone should be encouraging. So when looting and vandalism is involved, it just changes everything. And the federal government, particularly the Trump administration, being the kind of policy that wants to be strong in law and order, they swung into action and sent out those folks to go protect the people of Los Angeles. Now, is this okay? Is this allowed democratically? Is the rule of law applied to this? That's another debate. I know that that's currently being contested in court, and there will be a sitting on Thursday, which is tomorrow. But nonetheless, when looting and vandalism is involved, the federal government has to do something about it.
And this move or crackdown, so to speak, has been interpreted differently. But there is this speculation of Donald Trump perhaps toying with the idea of triggering the Insurrectionist Act. Is it possible that he's laying the ground for a more expansive use of the military to suppress dissent and opinionism in the United States?
Again, that is, that's a law, or that's a rule that will be contested in the courts. I would say that the courts currently under Donald Trump has been inundated with a lot of, cases that needs to be, tended to based on the verdict and some of those policies that the Trump administration is, churning out. Having said that, just sticking with the spotlight in Los Angeles and particularly some other, cities that seem to be very, those ones particularly that are democratically run, they seem to be having issues with the Trump administration. And one of those reasons is because they're not in line and they're not, very supportive of the Trump administration's policy when it comes to immigration and the way that they're handling immigration laws and immigration, as it is right now, the arrest and wanton arrest of people that are termed illegals in America. So the way that it's going right now, a lot of Democratic cities are not very comfortable with what the Trump administration is doing.
And then we saw Donald Trump, tweeting on his social media platform, Truth Social, calling these people paid insurrectionists. There is the concern about immigration, of course, but he also suggested that the governor should be arrested. How dangerous is this statement at this time in California?
Well, with that, in as much as we want to talk about how the president talks, we know how he, utters words, and, for a lot of Americans, they see it as a new norm. They're not having any problems with it whatsoever. And it's also being protected by freedom of speech. He's able to say whatever he wants to say. Can he be, arrested? Well, that's very possible because we've seen in recent days that some lawmakers were arrested on the grounds of interference with federal agents or interference in the affairs of federal agents, especially in immigration. In some states, especially in some Democratic states. And if you're found interfering unnecessarily with the federal laws and federal agencies while they're carrying out their jurisdiction or their work, the Attorney General is able to file a complaint and take it to courts, and the court will decide if that individual can be arrested or not. So it's a whole process. Anyone at this point that seems to be standing in the way of Mr. Trump might be possibly arrested, possibly.
So we'll wait to see what the coming days will be like in the United States. We understand that Donald Trump has deployed 7,000 more guards to address that situation. Well, thank you for talking to us, Global Affairs Analyst Kunle Falowo.
Thank you very much.